Hello, everybody. Welcome to USC Coliseum Chronicles Live, late night edition. Casey Caslener, Terrence Holton, myself joining in just under 24 hours until USC kicks off against Northwestern. Casey, Wildcats not a bad team as far as like their brand and what you think of a Northwestern team. This team is not bad at all.
No, they're not. I mean, it's funny you say that. They barely have a stadium. They're a team that is under new direction. They're not experienced from they don't have a coach who's been there 20 years is what I'm saying. But to your point, they've had some solid wins this year. They beat Drew Aller and the Penn State Nittany Lions earlier in the season. They're not a cakewalk by any means. I still think USC wins, but Preston Stone's a solid QB. I'll say solid. He throws too many picks, but he's solid. He doesn't have much of an O-line over there at Northwestern. Caleb Komolafe has done a really good job. They lost their starting running back, Cam Porter, for the entire season, and Komolafe has stepped up well.
Been a great substitution. Has over 600 yards on the season. Casey, this Northwestern team, I did say they're not bad, and it's true, they're not. They also haven't beaten a team with a record over 500, so there is that. Their best win, what? Purdue? No, Penn State. It's Penn State. But it was at Penn State, and that was, I guess, right after you could say the Penn State quit, maybe because that was right after the UCLA game, and of course, Drew Aller can't finish the game, and that is a factor, of course, going into the game. But they're not a great team. USC should, I don't want to say throttle them because they actually have a not bad defense, the number 19 total defense. So they're really actually not a bad team. Of course, they're not playing a lot of great teams.
They should have beat Nebraska.
They should have probably beat Nebraska. USC, who knows? I'm actually not going to back down my take about Nebraska, about how I said that USC was going to lose that game. I'm not going to admit that I was wrong in that because yes, USC won, and I'm happy about that. Let me be very clear. I'm very happy USC won. It did take Dylan Raiola breaking his fibula for them to win that game.
Yeah, I agree.
So, that's why I'm not ready for. No one can take a victory lap on me about saying you were wrong about this.
It's
just saying.
That's the second time that's happened. You talk about Justice Haynes too. We don't have to go back that far. But another thing about Northwestern too is they don't have a whole lot of receiving depth, but they have some solid receivers. Griffin Wilde is like a solid pass catcher. They remind me just a little bit of Illinois, like a slightly worse version of Illinois. They have a solid running back, a solid QB. I'd say Altmaier clears Stone by a lot. That's why I said they're a worse version. But the receiving depth is kind of just hit or miss. It's not it's not. They don't have a huge presence there, but they have a lot of different guys who can catch balls. So that should be interesting. Another thing too is Northwestern's coming off a bye week. USC's coming off a short week.
Mm-hmm.
USC isn't home, so that helps. But if this was a road game, we'd be talking trap game for sure because it doesn't help that they have had very little rest. Coming off a road trip to a tough environment, in the middle of the country, and Northwestern had a whole week off.
I completely agree with that. And I do think that, to your point about Preston Stone, really, he has one of the worst QB ratings in the country. Yeah. He's not good at all. If USC is going to take advantage, if their defense can really prove that they are an actually decent unit, they got to look good against Preston Stone. They got to look good against Northwestern because I just don't think that this team, athlete-wise, skill-wise in general, coaching-wise especially, not especially coaching-wise, but coaching-wise or any of that, I don't think Northwestern should be competing whatsoever in this game. That's just my personal thoughts on it, though.
What's your score prediction?
Before I answer that, do you know the line?
SC is 14.5 point favorite.
14.5. Yeah, they're 14.5. So, I'm going to take I would take USC plus 14.5. 41-20.
Fair. That's not bad. I'm also going to take the spread. I'm gonna go just because the offense was a little slow last week. I'm gonna say maybe it's still a little bit slow. I'm gonna go, but like still scoring a lot of points. Don't get me wrong, just not as many as you're saying. I'm gonna go 34-20. No, yeah, 34. No, that wouldn't cover the line. 34-17. 34-17.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the offense does kind of get going is the thing. Like that Nebraska, a lot of circumstances, the uncontrollables we talk about against them. It's a blackout. They had a phenomenal environment. Nebraska has the second best pass defense in the country. And I think this is the time where USC will actually get their offense moving. They're playing at home. They now no longer play any games outside the West Coast. That's pretty massive. And I think
Yeah.
they actually kind of get going.
I mean, you got Oregon coming up too. That's going to be huge. I mean,
Yes.
that's the difference between CFP and
Yeah,
the Holiday
if they win against Oregon, which I don't think they will, but we can always play the hypothetical game. Win against Oregon and you're in. That simply because if you win out, which I think they will, other than Oregon, you're in. You don't even have to. You likely won't play for the Big Ten championship because of Indiana and Ohio State. But I don't think that would matter at that point. I think as long as you take care of business, you're in.
Imagine this is crazy. Imagine if Oregon's playing Iowa this weekend. Yeah. Imagine if Iowa beats Oregon. Then you have to beat
Iowa. I
wouldn't
be surprised at all.
But then beating Oregon doesn't even matter as much to me. It's more like you got to beat it. But
I disagree because it's more just it's not a must win game. It's a can't lose game.
No, I know. But actually, I mean, I think it's better because if Iowa wins, then they're going to be ranked really high. USC plays first, right? So it wouldn't be the worst thing. I mean, again, it kind of sucks they're playing each other because one is going to drop, right? But you want Iowa ranked, though. You want Iowa to be ranked.
You need Iowa to at least compete, and I think they will. I very much think that they will. I think that they could even beat Oregon. And Kinnick is a tough place to play. Oregon hasn't beaten a single team with a record above 500.
I think if Iowa loses to Oregon, I mean, it depends on other stuff that happens, but I'd say they're still ranked.
Yeah, but then going into the USC, then they have to play in the Coliseum. It's not like time is really against them. That's another thing with Northwestern, which we mentioned in a second, but it's like a 12 local kickoff, 12:30.
No. 12? Are you talking about tomorrow?
No, Iowa. No, tomorrow's 6.
Sorry, yeah.
Tomorrow, but that gets me into my next point. It is a kind of later kickoff, I guess, if you want to say it that way. If you want to put it that way, it's a shorter week for Northwestern. Yeah.
Short week.
They're coming off the bye, but it's still a short week.
I guess.
It is. You usually play on a Saturday, you play on a Friday.
Sure, but you have 2 weeks off. I get
whatever. But they are going to have to play where it would be an 8 p.m. local kickoff for Northwestern. So I do think that that'll factor in at least a little bit. We've seen time be a factor.
Yeah, I just hope Iowa bounces back. It's the biggest
thing. Because they're going to be able to not run. I think they can lean on King Miller a little bit. I mean, he was fantastic last game against Nebraska. Very much bouncing back after Notre Dame, which wasn't great, but he was great against Nebraska.
Yeah, I mean, he's also just been really good at home. You know, I mean, I don't know how much you can blame just being on the road against Notre Dame for him not having the best game, but I think that's part of it.
Yeah,
for sure. And I mean, I want to see Brian Jackson get involved as well. You know, I think the run game as a whole unlocked a lot of pieces with Mayava. I mean, Mayava had his best rushing game of the season this past weekend.
That's true. That's what we need to see more of. I like even when he's not throwing the ball well. We should talk. Let's talk about that a little bit because even when Mayava is throwing the ball well, I want to see him involved with his legs more. That's what I always liked about him more than Miller Moss. The fact that he can run the ball.
That was his entire selling point.
Yeah,
I felt like, and that he didn't make. I mean, his reads last year weren't great. But better than
that. But at the same time, that interception versus Nebraska last week was atrocious.
Yeah.
I could have read him there.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, he still has signs of his like younger self that have shown, but also there have been games where he has shown signs of being a completely different QB.
Yes. There is a lot of signs of maturing.
I think like in the 2 games USC has lost, he has played Illinois and Notre Dame. He has played good for like 85% of the game, and then it's like 2 bad reads. Like he had that pick against Illinois where he threw it over the middle of the field, and then he had like some bad reads against Notre Dame. But also like USC's receivers need to step up a bit too. Like I think Mekhi Lemon's great, Jacoby Lane's great, but the unit is not perfect though. Like Mayaba's done a lot to keep them in games, and sometimes he hasn't necessarily had reciprocation from his receivers. I want to see them get open more. I mean, Jacoby Lane, I think, needs to have a big game this weekend just for his confidence. He's been a little underwhelming this year.
I need to see Mekhi bounce back after that Notre Dame game too. The problem is, Northwestern has a pretty good pass defense.
Yeah.
They haven't played the best quarterbacks, in fairness. I mean, Dante Moore's the best, and he's fine, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, Jacoby Lane had some pretty bad drops against Notre Dame. You could argue that's a reason they lost, potentially.
Yes, but also I think some of the Mayava throws were just not there.
Yeah, I agree. And it was raining, but I'm saying Mayava's reads in some of these big games have been good. I agree with you about the one, though, against – it's crazy. Like, looking at the receiving numbers from Nebraska, the leading receiver was Jaden Richardson, who had 1 catch for 43, albeit a really good play by him.
Yeah.
McKyle had 18 yards, and Jacoby had 22. Like, I know they won the game, and they barely passed the ball for a Lincoln Riley offense. They couldn't. And only 9 completions. But
it also felt like they just barely had the ball, too. Like it was a combination of just the offense could not do anything in the first half. To them, like when they got the ball, they would move down the field and then they would stop running the ball and everything would grind to a stop. That was the frustrating part to me.
It was the most like un-Lincoln Riley game I've seen in a while. I'd say maybe like UCLA last year was the most un-Lincoln Riley game. Or USC. Well, actually, they couldn't score within the 10-yard line, so I guess that's pretty Lincoln Riley-esque. But besides the point, that Nebraska game, like only 2 touchdowns scored, right, by USC. Like,
yeah,
you gotta find a way to extend the drive. And I think starting strong in games, like we've talked about that multiple times on the show, especially on the road, but I think at home too. Like we've seen what USC has been able to do when they score on the first drive, and we've also seen them lose games where they've scored early. Like Notre Dame's one of them, but they're so much more confident when they score early. I think it's night and day. So,
no, I completely agree. You got to get a fast start. And I think that's a lot of the reason that, Lincoln Riley always takes the ball first because they want to get their offense cooking. They want to get them going early. And I love that. I think that's great. The problem is when it doesn't work, I kind of agree with you. It does kind of deflate them.
I could see, obviously I said USC will win by like 17 points.
Yeah.
I could still see Caleb Komolafe going for 130 yards.
Yeah. The run, like I said, especially, you're losing one of the big guys up front, Ja Jarrett. Floyd Picard was practicing this week. I know that. It'll be interesting to see if he plays. But I just am concerned about them stopping the run. In fairness, the 2 guys who they've played the most recent, who they were not able to stop, Emmett Johnson and, of course, Jeremiah Love, both top 6 in rushing in the country. So there is that.
Yeah. And I think Komolafe is a little more underrated, but we saw him break out. I watched that entire Northwestern versus Nebraska game a couple weeks ago. He broke out for some big runs.
Yeah.
And
that kept him in the game.
Yeah, that's something that USC has struggled to stop this year. And last big point I want to point out is the penalties. USC had 8 of them against Nebraska. It's still been a huge issue. I don't really understand why at this point in the season it's still continuing to be such a big problem, but yeah, it has. So,
no, I completely agree. I think just at this point in the season, they should not be as undisciplined as they are.
Yeah,
and it's a little absurd.
It kind of makes you question the coaching, especially on the defensive side of the
ball.
Very
much. Oh, Casey, we should talk about one thing before we go. It is not Nebraska related, and it's not Northwestern related. It's just a rumor. Have you seen the clip circulating from Josh Pate when he talked about Lincoln Riley as a name to monitor in the whole coaching carousel situation?
I've seen the headlines, but do you want to just break it down for the
That's really all it is. Josh Pate, 24/7, now CBS, I guess, insider and their lead kind of guy on a podcast with Will Compton and Taylor Lewan. At the end of it, he literally did like this, like, you guys want to hear a name? It's like throwing a grenade out there. And he was like, Lincoln Riley's a name to monitor. I don't really see any validity in this, I'll be honest.
I don't either.
Yeah. Look, I mean, here's the thing. Has Lincoln Riley been disappointing? Absolutely. Has he, well, that's the same, I was going to say underperformed, but that's the same thing as disappointing. But at the same time, he's bringing in that number one recruiting class, and maybe that's what's enticing to teams.
Yeah.
At the same time, I don't see what program who needs to like hire a coach like one of these top teams, your LSU's, your Ole Miss, not Ole Miss, your Florida's, I'll throw Penn State in there.
Potentially Ole Miss.
Potentially, but yeah, we're not going to speculate on that though. Your Auburns. I don't really see which one of these programs, which needs to build a team up, looks at what Lincoln Riley has done at USC and says, yep, that's our guy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, that's a good point. I also think my one rebuttal around the recruiting class, because I feel like everyone goes to that as a safety valve to sort of, I'm not saying you're doing that, but I think a lot of people use that as, hey, we have to keep Lincoln Riley forever because of his recruiting classes.
Yeah.
I'd argue the talent has always been.
Yeah, I think that's a cop-out answer. I agree with you.
Yeah. And I mean, on the defensive side of the ball, like, yeah. I think the talent is really thin. For it, like, not talent like these guys aren't good, but talent to compete with the top dogs in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
From a physical and just overall football standpoint.
Yeah.
But I think but I will say though, if you lose Lincoln, you lose. I mean, USC they've been pumping out. It's weird to say because they've only had 3 different QBs at USC since hiring Lincoln, but all 3 of them have been good in some way. I know Miller was disappointing, but he is having a good.
He had his moments for sure.
Yeah, and Maeva is going to be in the NFL. Caleb Williams is number 1 pick. Like, you're going to lose that. You're also going to lose just the sheer like celebrity coaching staff that he has that draws in the recruits. It's not just Lincoln. It's like Lincoln bringing on Henny and Lincoln bringing on Dan. Like, it's a chain reaction that happens if you get rid of Lincoln.
Yeah.
So I think it is a cop-out answer, but I think there is some validity. So, but I do think, like, you make a good point. What has he accomplished? Nothing. Like,
also, it's just like none of these programs are bigger than USC. Like, I just don't. There's only a select few of programs where I think like the brand is bigger. You could maybe argue LSU because
definitely not Penn State.
No, definitely not. Definitely not Penn State. Definitely not like any of these other schools. It's maybe like he wants a change of scenery. Maybe he wants to go back to the South. Casey, can we quickly take a look? I sent this list to you. Yep. It's a list of. I made this list a couple weeks ago when I was bored, and it was the "If Lincoln Riley is Fired" document. Well, let's look at this as a maybe if he loses. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can see it better. But I know it's not up yet. But maybe there's one that it's like maybe if he leaves. Maybe if he leaves, and this is like how do I put this? This is like just theoretical. I threw a bunch of names onto here, and I did categorize them. So we'll look at this, and this is like no one else has been hired anywhere else. So let's look at this really quickly. All right. Can you see this?
Yep.
All right. If Lincoln Riley is fired. So the first category is they may not pick up the phone, but you make the call. It's Dan Lanning, Marcus Freeman, Nick Saban, Lane Kiffin, and Urban Meyer. A couple of these guys, obviously Freeman feels the least likely, I'll be honest. Maybe even Saban. Maybe even more than Saban, just because of that Notre Dame connection. But Lanning, obviously, you got to give him a call. Lane Kiffin, even though he was tarmacked by USC, you got to give him a call. His daughter still goes here. Urban Meyer, another one. He's kind of an asshole, but definitely an asshole. But you give him a call. He's a great football coach.
Yeah.
This is the list right here who I really like.
I really like Kenny Dillingham.
Yeah. This is the list right here, which is I think this is who is legitimate and I think could be hired. Mike Elko. Mike Elko has built a winning program and culture every single place he's gone. He's doing it fantastically at Texas A&M, and it took him a year. That was a perpetual 8-4 team. And of course they could still go 8-4. They are a major CFP championship contender, though. Kenny Dillingham, obviously one of the youngest. Is he the youngest head coach in football still?
He's up there. At least
he's one of the youngest still.
He's a top-tier recruiter. I mean,
top-tier recruiter. Well, is he?
I think so. I mean, look what he's been able to do in just a couple years there.
Yeah. Great program builder, though, and knows who to get, knows how to put guys in a place to win. Kalani Sitake, BYU, another one who I doubt he'd leave his situation, but I think you should give him a call, too. Another great program builder. BYU has been the last 2 years. He's been all across my monitor since a couple years back. He was tossed around with the Oregon name before Lanning got that job. But great program builder. Look what the Cougars are doing now. Casey, I know you're a fan of them in the CFP. Yep. Another one, Eli Drinkwitz. Think he's going to Florida, but I think you give him a call. He succeeded really well at Ole Miss, Missouri. He succeeded really well at Missouri. If you can build up a program like Missouri, who's a fine SEC team, you can do it at USC. You can do it in these places. A lot of these guys, sure, maybe there's a difference in culture, which who knows. But also a couple of these guys right here, we're going to get down this list. They are at their alma maters. Your Clark Lees, your Brent Keys. They're both at their alma mater, Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech, respectively. Program builders who have put loser programs in successful places. Georgia Tech, historically, I guess, is a decent program. Vanderbilt sure as hell is not. So I think when you're seeing what he's doing at Vanderbilt, once again, alumni, he's probably not going to leave. But I overall think that he is a phenomenal coach. Both of these guys, that is. I overall think that they are phenomenal coaches. And yeah, Casey, do you have any critiques before I move on?
Not really. I do think you brought this up. I guess the main critique is I don't know how reasonable it is. I think USC's brand is big, but I think drawing a guy away from the SEC, that's why I really like the Dillingham pick, because I think going from the Big 12 to the Big 10 with what he's been able to do. And I also think one thing to think about is USC, when they hired Lincoln Riley, NIL was pretty new. NIL was not, it was big, but it wasn't what it is now. The opportunities to draw one of these coaches where they can pretty much sign whoever they want, the location too. I think they would get a celebrity name within a short period of time for sure. So I don't think it's that crazy.
I agree with that. Moving on. Joey McGuire, Texas Tech. Another guy who I guess you could say it's a lot funded on money, and that's what Texas Tech has, which fair enough. I still think he's a good coach and a program builder. Texas Tech is still a good team. Probably going to make the playoff. I think they're going to beat BYU this weekend. And I don't know why you wouldn't look at his name. And then Shane Beamer, guy who I think it'll be hard to pry him away from the South. But going from U of SC to USC, great all-time vibes guy, I think. And I think he'd be great to build up that program. South Carolina's not having a good year this year. But last year, they were good. And this year, they're not great because they lost so much talent. I think if you got the guys in the right place, he very much can win games. Were you about to say something?
I was going to ask you. So I read into the rumors a little bit that Josh Pate has surfaced. Would it be Lincoln Riley leaving on his own power or the university firing him? Because that's one distinction that, can he even leave on his own? He's under contract.
So that's the thing. It would have to be a school pays us, whoever it might be, Auburn pays USC $50 million. Here, we'll take Lincoln Riley. That's why I don't see that happening at all. Because, hey, if you want to give us $50 million, take our coach and we'll go hire one of these guys, I am really happy with that, honestly.
Yeah. Do you think they fire Lincoln if they lose to Iowa and Oregon?
So what? They'd go 7-5 or
8-4?
8-4.
Assuming they beat UCLA and Northwestern.
Maybe. I think maybe, but So no, I'll say no because the coaching pod is so tough this offseason because there are so many available
Yeah,
jobs.
that's true.
I'm gonna say no. Look at Wisconsin. They're sticking with Luke Fickell and he sucks.
Yeah.
And because they don't think they're gonna get someone better. And sure, Wisconsin and USC is different programs, but you're also when you're USC, you're gonna have to compete with LSU and Florida, Penn State for these big time coaches. And
Yeah.
you like it or not, there's very much a competition there. Auburn, I'll throw them in there too.
At least you would beat UCLA in that race. Probably.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Here's another category. Who is a safety and would be a good hire, but only if everyone else says no? Jeff Braun from Louisville. I just threw some names in here. James Franklin.
James Franklin. Wow.
Say what you want. That guy won the little games until he stopped. But that guy was winning 10 games a year. Like his only sin for 6 or 7 years was he lost to Michigan and Ohio State. In the 12-team playoff, if you can win 10 to 12 games, 10 to 12, if you can win 10 games, you're in. So he's on my list. Jed Fish, he could be higher up, I think, because he's pretty decent at program building as well. Took an Arizona team that went from 0-12 to 10 wins within 3 years, I think it was. Now he's having a solid season with Washington.
Going ahead a little bit, I don't hate the Willie Fritz.
He's a good right. I think so. Here's the thing. I think 1, 2 are going to get good. These two right here, Fran Brown, Willie Fritz, are going to get SEC jobs. Fran Brown, Syracuse head coach. I've been a big fan of this guy. I was talking about it last year when he turned a Syracuse team with Kyle McCord from basically nothing into a 9-win team, 9-win team. Or maybe it was 10. Did they win 10 games? No, I think it was only 9. But I think he's a good coach. Syracuse isn't having the best year. I think he can get an SEC job, though. Look out for Arkansas. I was going to say it, but I'm going to say Oklahoma State, but they're not SEC. But look, he's going to get a good job. Rhett Lashley just got an extension with SMU, but another one. He's funded by lots of money, but I still think he's a good coach. Puts Kevin Jennings in the right places. Brian Kelly. I think I'm going to take this guy off because everything you see about them, he's just an asshole. So I think I'm actually just going to delete Brian Kelly. So I'm just.
What about John Summerall? Is that a crazy?
Oh, we'll wait just a second.
Oh.
Rhett Lashley, Danton Lynn, Willie Fritz. You'll see in a second. Willie Fritz, another guy who's going to get another job. Danton Lynn, maybe if this defense turns it around, maybe. We'll see.
Big if.
Yeah. But up and coming. I put these in a different category, but John Summerall, another guy I think could get a massive SEC coaching job. Say Lane Kiffin leaves Ole Miss, goes to Florida, LSU, wherever. I bet John Summerall gets that job. Like, 100% would believe that.
I like Golish, too.
Alec Golish, USF, another guy contending for that UF job. What he's done at South Florida with so many teams competing around him. It's not at all the same competition with USC. If you can build that program up, it'd be great. Eric Morris, North Texas. Say what you want. Guy gets his offense moving. The North Texas offense can sling the ball. If you can have a guy who didn't play quarterback in high school, leading the nation in passing yards, he threw for 600 yards a couple weeks ago. That is someone who I kind of want coaching my team because he can get the ball moving. Eric Morris, Will Stein, the Oregon OC, just another solid name who's tossed around a lot, who I really like. For those of you tuning in a little bit late too, this is not if Lincoln. This is both a Lincoln if Lincoln Riley is fired, or if another team buys him out or something like that via Josh Pate rumors that we're not buying into. But I made this list a couple weeks ago, so I thought we'd look at them.
Can I ask you this? Because I've read the headlines and stuff. Did he ever because I didn't listen to the podcast. Did Josh Pate say where those rumors came from? No, he just he said, I'm going to throw a name out there and we're going to end the show, Lincoln Riley. And then the show ended. So that's all. It's literally based on, as far as we can tell, it's based on nothing. But that's what college football media is. You take one rumor and you bite at it. And then Sean Lewis, San Diego State, sneaky, I think, G5 bid. That's a pretty good team. Beat up on a pretty decent Cal team, and their Mountain West is pretty decently open. Boise State's not fantastic. UNLV, definitely not fantastic.
I think it's very possible. I mean, the American Conference is so good, but
they're good in the bid. But yeah,
it's
not crazy
it's likely the USF, Memphis, one of those teams gets it. Maybe even but Sean Lewis, San Diego State. I mean, maybe like a second job, like he goes somewhere smaller, then gets the USC job. That's kind of what I prefer, but we'll see. All right, and then the F-it, I censored this before I showed it, but the F-it, here's a name. Ed Orgeron. Yeah, why not? Let's bring him back. Let's bring him in.
Go Joe.
Go Joe. Not Orgeron State, like my friends up in Oregon want. John Gruden, another name, which is funny enough, tossed around.
He's a quarterback whisperer.
Very much a quarterback guy. Name that is tossed around a ton. The guy was pretty decent at winning football games when he wasn't, getting in scandals for your Raiders. But good coach.
Speaking of the Raiders, though, Pete Carroll.
Say a guy who is really not finding success at all with the Raiders.
Nope.
Maybe we need a little Pete back. Maybe all he needs is to come back to Southern California and just have a great team, build that up. He is very old is the thing. So there'd have to be some coach in waiting with him. Jimbo Fisher, another guy who was just like, sure. A guy who, it was a long time ago, but he had a Heisman winner and a national championship. Sure, it was Jameis Winston. Great player in college. That's the main reason why they won. Sure. That being said, that guy won a national championship, and before he kind of tailed off at Texas A&M, he could consistently win 8 to 10 games. Not 10. Yeah, he could win. He could win 10. He would get there.
Hey, Dabo also won a natty.
Yeah, another one. Dabo. He is kind of a relic. Both these guys kind of relics from different eras. All of them, really. But he won football games. He'd need to embrace the transfer portal a bit more. But Clemson, that relationship is souring. Maybe he wants a new look, and maybe that's USC. So that's my USC if Lincoln Riley is fired or leaves list that I made a couple weeks ago.
I mean, there's some good names on there. It's just that's such an out of left field.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's been talked about before, but like only if worst comes to worst. And I mean, being 6-2, like we know because we watch every week that like this USC team has not really beaten a truly great contender yet, but a lot of people see that 6-2 record and say, hey, Lincoln Riley's doing a good job. Whether or not that's the case, that's up to you to decide. But I can also see the point of like he found a lot of success in not the SEC, the Big 12, but they're now in the SEC, Oklahoma. That's where he found Caleb. He brought him into Oklahoma. He had a good staff there.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't successful in the playoff, but
he made 3 playoffs. 3?
They were close. They were close. And that's the thing that Lincoln Riley always says, so I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? But all right, that's going to do it for us here. Coliseum Chronicles Live. Northwestern USC, 6 p.m.